should you bet on in week 1? Welcome, football fans and gridiron gamblers. It's Mitch here with my reaction to Colin Cowherd's Blazing 5 for week 1 of the 2025 NFL season. The Blazing 5 is back. It's Colin's 5 favorite picks, his 5 favorite bets, his best bets every week of the NFL season. And I'm going to give you my thoughts on Colin's picks. Is he right? Is he wrong? Should you fade or should you follow Colin with his best bets for week 1? I don't know what he's going to pick or predict. Let's see if Colin is going to make some money this week and if we should follow him this week. Let's get to it. Like the video. Don't be a jabroni and subscribe. And let me know in the comments your best bet for week 1. Okay, Colin. Let's see if you're going to start off the season hot.
A lot of people would not do a Blazing 5 to start the year because, well, I'm terrible in week 1. But it's too much fun. Let's have a good 5 minutes here with my picks. I feel
like week 1 basically comes down to how accurate are your preseason takes. Because a lot of the times, if you have accurate information from the offseason, the preseason, and your evaluation of every team is on, with all the teams, all 32 pretty much healthy, you're going to nail week 1. But if you're off, then you're going to lose big time. So we'll see if Colin... He says he's bad in week 1, so we'll see.
Good, as I always do. I felt good every week last year. That didn't mean anything. And here we go with our opening Blazing 5.
Okay.
Let's blaze it up.
Fire it up.
It's Colin's Blazing 5.
Pick 1.
Giants at Commanders.
I like the Giants plus 6.5. At least one underdog of 6+ points has won outright in week 1. I think the Giants could be the play. They played 9 one-score games last year, and both games against the Commanders were close. Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence, Abdul Carter. This is a top 2 or 3 defensive line. And, I mean, let's be honest. It's week 1. We saw what D-lines can do last night. Malik Neighbors, matchup problem, even with Dan Quinn. Back end of the defense last year for Washington was a bit of a mess. The Commanders, great year, but they played 12 one-score games, and their defense, was bad with a defensive coach. So I think the Debo Terry McLaurin thing is fascinating, but I think it won't be perfect until later in the season. This is a go-either-way game. I'll take Washington to win, but 6.5, I'm taking it with the Giants. 27-23, Commanders close.
Okay. I also have this as a best bet for week 1. Makes me a little nervous that Colin is also on it, but I will say the one thing that worries me now is it was just reported earlier today that Andrew Thomas is going to be out. Or I think he's doubtful, technically, or something. But he's going to be out for this game against the Commanders. Now, they dealt without him last year for a majority of the season, so that gives you a little bit of confidence. But that still is not a good thing, right? Andrew Thomas is a premier, legitimate left tackle. Now, if there is a pass rush and a defensive line that you want to face without a premier left tackle, it might be the Commanders. They don't really have a great pass rusher. Dorrance Armstrong, Von Miller, like, who is it? Dietrich Wise, Clelin Ferrell, like, I'm not so sure they have one. Their secondary, I certainly believe, has some upside this year, right? Lattimore could be healthier. Amos is a rookie, and I like him, but he has a point. Like, I said the same thing in my best bets, which if you haven't watched that video, go watch that video. Malik Neighbors is going to be a problem. Wan'Dale Robinson, Darius Slayton could catch a deep ball in this game. They like to play a lot of man coverage. I think Russell Wilson will do well against that man coverage. I think his biggest point is the Commanders play a lot of one-score games. They won a ton of those last year. That's a big reason why regression is likely for that team. And the Giants played them in 2 one-score games last year, and they're getting 6.5 points. I prefer 6.5 at this point. I'd probably only want 6.5 at this point with the injury to Andrew Thomas. I think there will be a 6.5, 7 out there by the time the kickoff comes, because I do believe that's a significant injury, and I'm not sure that everyone knew about that injury. So, yeah, I would take it at 6.5. I like the Giants. I will follow Colin on this pick. I am with you. The pass rush, the defense of the Giants should cause some havoc for Jaden Daniels. Pick 2. What do you got?
Steelers at Jets.
I like the Jets plus a field goal.
Okay,
this is the lowest.
We're on opposite sides here, so this is interesting.
Over and under. I'm going to take the home dog plus the 3 points. They held fourth quarter leads in 6 of their 12 losses last year. The Jets were in games, and that's with an old quarterback that couldn't extend plays. Now they have a young quarterback that can. The Steelers had a lot of turnover. Left tackle gone, quarterback gone, best receiver gone, best running back gone. With a defensive culture, you think they're going to look good in week 1? My takeaway is the wrong team getting points here. I think the Jets roster is good, and I've got a young quarterback who played in Pittsburgh and knows their personnel. And by the way, Aaron Rodgers, with all these new parts, week 1, last 3 times, week 1 he started. He's lost all of them and has not played well, and he's not the most committed guy in the offseason. I like the Jets here to win straight out 24-20 money line, baby.
Oh, he likes the Jets to win. So I'm on polar opposite sides here. I would fade Colin on this pick. I like the Steelers for a variety of reasons. First of all, I disagree that they have a stronger roster than the Jets. I would give the Steelers the edge from a roster perspective. Not by a ton, but I think by enough. I would argue that the Steelers have a ferocious front 7, and the Jets, it's average in the front 7. The Jets have arguably the best pass rush in football. TJ Watt, Cam Hayward, who is going to play, Alex Highsmith, right? Like, and the whole point about the quarterbacks, like, that's absurd. You didn't even mention the quarterback's name. You said he's young and he can extend plays. Justin Fields is his name. So you're fading Aaron Rodgers, and I think Colin's fading him because he doesn't like him, flat out. Like, I think he just doesn't like Aaron Rodgers. So that's kind of a biased pick in my opinion. Not a real way to bet a game from my perspective, but who knows. Justin Fields is not good at quarterback. He's not going to be able to deliver the passes that he needs to make against a complicated, creative Pittsburgh defense that has a great pass rush and an improved corner position, right? They added Jalen Ramsey, Darius Slay. You forgot to mention that. They did replace George Pickens with DK Metcalf, which is probably an improvement. At least the NFL would tell you that, right? And they lost Najee Harris, but who cares? Like some of the points he made here, they don't matter, or they're wrong. Like, who do you think's better, Aaron Rodgers or Justin Fields? Give me Aaron Rodgers. Who do you think's better, Aaron Glenn or Mike Tomlin? Give me Mike Tomlin. I like the Steelers defense more than I like the Jets defense in a defensive game. I like the proven Arthur Smith offense over an unproven offensive coordinator. And I do think that overall, I trust Rodgers to make less mistakes than Justin Fields. So I will take the Steelers -3 here. I think that's the spread that he indicated. That was, or -2.5 even. I think it could be 2.5. At 2.5, I like it a lot more than 3 because this game could land on a field goal. It's bound to be a defensive game. So at 2.5, I think it's better. But yeah, I'm fading Colin on this pick. I can understand wanting to fade an old quarterback in week 1, but honestly, shouldn't he be his freshest in week 1? I don't know. Maybe I just think the Jets suck, and I don't think the Steelers suck, personally.
49ers at Seahawks.
I like the Seahawks. Do you know, since Loom...
Also on the opposite side of this, but not a pick. I wouldn't say that I'm on the Niners necessarily. I just would bet the Niners if I had to bet the Niners.
Field opened up in 2002. Seattle's got the best home winning percentage, 9.
And I think they were 2-6 last year at home, so that's a really bad stat to use. They also lost to the Niners at home. I was literally at the game.
1 record at home, week 1. And by the way, 6 of their final 8 games last year, after the bye, they won. They needed a bye for this new coaching staff, and they've upgraded at coordinator. They're going to run the ball. They're going to speed the game up. Gray Zabel, the draft pick, watch them run the ball. Sam Darnold's an athletic upgrade at quarterback, and the Niners.
I don't think Sam Darnold is better than Geno Smith. He might be more athletic, I'll give you that, but I don't think he's better.
McCaffrey's banged up. Brandon Ayuk's out. Greenlaw's gone. Hufunga's gone. By the way, Niners were not great against their division last year. They were 1-5 in division.
That's true. But I mean, a lot of that was because they were so injured.
And 2-6 on the road last year. They were not a great road team or a division team. And their red zone defense, that's why they brought Saleh in, was a bit of a mess. It was 31st. I like the Seahawks and the points to win straight out 24-23.
It's not a bad pick. I won't rip this pick. I think some of the argument was poor because it was mostly based on last year's 49ers team, which is not going to be like Niners team this year. I mean, we have to see what's going on with McCaffrey. That's obviously a question mark. He's questionable entering the game now all of a sudden after basically practicing the entire offseason and training camp and being good to go. I think he'll play, and this might be a little bit of gamesmanship, trying to limit his reps before the first game by Shanahan and the Niners, but we will see. Obviously, if he doesn't play, I'd probably pick Seattle to win the game, so I think that's fair. But if McCaffrey does play, I would expect the Niners to win. Now, I think there are some holes in his argument. First of all, the whole thing about being at home. I think Brock Purdy's 3-0 against Seattle in Seattle, so that's first things first. Second is they do have Jennings, and they do have Pearsall, and they do have Kittle in the receiving game. The Niners, yeah, they're without Ayuk. Everybody knows that, right? Lines makers know that entering the game. The defense, okay? The defense, I think, for the Niners is going to be better than last year. Now, it might not take an immediate impact, and it's going to be really interesting. I think the big X factor of this game is the run game for Seattle. Like, Seattle wants to run the ball, right? It's Kubiak running the show, who's a former 49er assistant coach. And the one thing I don't like about betting on Seattle here is that Kyle knows Sam Darnold. He was a backup quarterback for Brock Purdy. Kyle knows the system extremely well. Like, it's his system. So he's going to understand how to stop those runs. Robert Saleh is going to have that understanding. I think Saleh's impact is going to be felt immediately. I think the Niners have the advantage in the passing game on defense with Nick Bosa rushing the quarterback. Watch out for Bryce Huff, Michael Williams rushing the quarterback against a little bit of a jittery offensive line. And if Sam Darnold does get pressure, we know he is a rather limited player against pressure and he makes big-time mistakes. I don't love Seattle's receiving core. Like, they don't have a competent receiving tight end. And Cooper Kupp, to me, is washed. The Niners actually limited receivers in fantasy last year to the least amount of fantasy points in football with all the injuries they had. I would lean towards San Francisco having that advantage in the passing game with Nick Bosa, with those corners, Green, Lenore, and now Upton Stout, the rookie. I think the Niners are generally underrated on defense because of all the youthful energy that has been infused here, and people don't know about these players. So I think that's the main thing. I would take the Niners as long as McCaffrey plays. If McCaffrey does not play, I would probably just lay off of the game. But that being said, I don't hate this pick because it's a division dog at home, and Seattle is a team I have going to the playoffs, and they probably will split, but who knows? Like, there are questions about both these teams. There's a lot of new to both of these teams. I think for the Niners, a lot more personnel, and then for the Seahawks, a lot more coaching. So it's a little bit of a toss-up type game, but I do disagree on the pick. I would not make this a blazing 5 selection.
Lions at Packers.
I really like Green Bay. Bet of the weekend.
Okay, this is another one that I don't like. I actually like the Lions here. And he says this is the bet of the weekend. I'd certainly disagree on that. So I'm fading Colin again. I don't know how I feel about this. So we're on it. We're on the same page with the Giants. But otherwise, okay, this is interesting.
And a young team entering their prime. Added Micah Parsons.
Lions are entering their prime too, or in their prime.
I like Green Bay here. Only team in the league, top 5 offense and total defense. And by the way, we think to ourselves,
and they lost in the first game of the playoffs.
Jordan Love wasn't great last year. I went and looked it up this morning. Final 7 games last year.
He wasn't. He wasn't great last year.
9 touchdowns, no picks. He's fine. Lions lost both coordinators. If they do replace them deftly, it'll probably be later in the season.
I disagree with that point. I feel like the coordinators will actually be better at the start of the year rather than the end of the year, because I think you have less tape on what the offense could look like early in the year and the tendency breakers of these coordinators. I kind of feel like it's the more that the games and the tapes pile up and the more that the coaching matters, like I feel like at the beginning of the year, talent overwhelms. But that's just my perspective. That could be wrong. That's just my perspective. I don't know where you guys stand on that.
And Dan Campbell's not been a good underdog coach. 12-21-1 as an underdog head coach.
I do wonder what that stat, because that stat is definitely also early in his career. Like, he was in Miami at one time before he got to Detroit many years ago. Detroit in the first year under Dan Campbell was not a good team, but that's an interesting stat.
When they got better players, they win. When they're at
They do.
home with better players, they win.
They beat Green Bay on the road last year.
On the road, do they have better players than Green Bay? I'm not sure. Jared Goff without McVay
I kind of think so.
and Ben Johnson, never been quite as good. I like Green Bay to win outright 28-24.
All right. Yeah, I could see Green Bay winning the game. I'm not going to deny that. I do like the Lions here. I do think they are the more talented team. And where I like the Lions in particular is on the perimeter. I feel like their receivers against the Packers corners is a clear mismatch. Jamison Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, even Sam Laporta to a certain degree. You got to deal with him, right? Jahmyr Gibbs out of the backfield. Those guys against the Packers corners, which is their biggest susceptibility, right? The Packers' strength of their defense is no longer in the inside. They lost Kenny Clark, right? They lost TJ Slayton. Their strength is at edge with Parsons and with Gary. And the strength of the Lions' offensive line is with Sewell and with Decker at tackle still, right? They lost Ragnow at center, but do the Packers have enough at D tackle to take advantage of that, right? How will they move around their pass rushers? Will Devontae Wyatt step up? We still don't know. And I feel like there'll be explosives from those receivers. It's going to be difficult to play them man-to-man or cover them with a matchup style. So there's a lot of zone there. I think Goff can pick it apart. And I still think the Lions can run the ball on this Packers unit. I look at the other side, and I think that the Lions have good physical cornerbacks. Their defense is actually healthy, which it was not healthy last year. I do think Aaron Glenn's a bit overrated, which is part of the reason I'm fading the Jets. But I think like Amik Robertson, for example, has an edge over Jaden Reed with a broken foot or whatever he's got going on, like a fractured foot, whatever's going on in the slot there. Romeo Doubs versus Terrion Arnold. I think that's fairly even. And DJ Reed against a rookie Matt Golden. I'd probably lean towards Reed, even if I like Golden. Plus, the Lions were one of the best teams against tight ends, if you're talking about Tucker Kraft. So Aiden Hutchinson's back. Like, I kind of just think the Lions entering the year as an underdog, I really like the idea of no one believes in them in this game. And the Lions did beat the Packers last year, and they beat them like 5 out of the last 6 games. So yeah, I'm not as high on the Lions this year overall. I'm actually higher on the Packers as a collective, but I don't think it will take shape early in the year, especially with Parsons being a bit limited and not exactly being 100% and or like physically in the right condition because he's been holding out for the entire training camp. So unless he's just like a freak, which he might be, but I would go with the Lions here, honestly. So I'm fading Colin again here in his Blazing 5.
Texans and Rams.
This is an interesting one.
The under 43.5.
Oh, he's going with a total. I didn't think he does this.
19th ranked scoring offense. Texans against.
I think I would agree with this. I think I agree with the under here.
The 20th score.
It's a low number though, 43.5 for first, the Rams in a dome.
Offense. Here's the truth about the Rams last year. Didn't have a great point differential, even with Stafford. Both teams come into the season with O-line issues. Stafford's back's an issue. Left tackle Alaric Jackson, blood clots, didn't practice a ton. And the Texans beat up on their division. They were 5-1 against the AFC South. They weren't great out of their division. They've got a first-time play caller, offensive coordinator, and a lot of
new. Could be good, though. It could be good.
Faces on the offensive line. And I am here to tell you, the Rams' defensive front is filthy and getting better.
It is. The Texans is also terrifying.
I think it is a very low-scoring game. The over-under is 43.5. It feels like 2017 or 21-17. Rams, to me, probably at home. I give them the edge, but I'm taking the under here.
I would also like the Texans with 3.5. I'm not going to lie. Just because of what he's saying here, like it could definitely come down to a field goal. There's no doubt about it.
Take the under 43.5.
Yeah, okay. So I think I have him going 2 and 3 based on what I think is going to happen. But, you know, I'm just one person. I could be wrong about one of these 5. But yeah, I would also lean towards the under. I think both teams, the pass rushes of both teams are top notch. I mean, Danielle Hunter, Will Anderson on the flip side. You got Kobe Turner, you got Jared Verse, you got Braden Fisk, right? So, and then I really like how the Texans match up at corner against the Rams receivers, which is going to be the strength of their offense this year with Puka and Devontae. You got Stingley, you got Lassiter. I think this Texans safeties are phenomenal. CJ Gardner-Johnson's expected to play as well. Texans have a defense led by D'Amico that's done a good job against Stafford in his 49er days, right? And then flipping that around, there's just a lot of questions about the Texans. No Christian Kirk to rely on. Rookie is going to be playing wide receiver for Houston. No Joe Mixon to rely on. Offensive line questions. So yes, definitely some trickiness to that situation offensively for the Texans and for both teams. So yeah, I think I definitely agree with that. So that is his blazing 5 for week 1, guys. That's where I fade. That's where I follow. So to recap, let's just check out that recap real quick.
J-Mac, any thoughts on that?
Okay, so here's the board. I like the Giants at 6.5. I like the Steelers. I'll flip it around on them. -3. So 3 is the number officially. I'm assuming he took the best in the number there. So if you could find a 2.5 for the Steelers, that's the way I would go. I would take the Niners under a field goal against Seattle if McCaffrey plays, but I'm not going to bet that most likely. The Lions and the Packers, I would take the Lions plus the 2.5 as the dog. I just like the way they match up with this Green Bay team as I broke down. And then the Texans and the Rams, I agree with the under. So I have 2 agreements, 3 disagreements on the Blazing 5 this week. If you guys want to see me continue this series, continue to break down the Blazing 5 week after week and give my fade and my follow, then Gronk spike the like button and let me know in the comments what you thought of this video. I've never done this before on the Bottom Line View. This is new to Money Mitch. So let me know if you want me to do more reactions to bets just like this. It's Mitch, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace.